is Jeff Crouch and Kelcie Douglas. Jeffery Crouch is a blind graduate student at Western Michigan University, living in Kalamazoo, Michigan, working on a double master's degree in orientation and mobility and vision rehabilitation therapy. When I'm not being a student, my days are filled with being a full-time single parent and an advocate for the blind of Michigan, says Jeffrey. I also enjoy spending time outdoors with my daughter and best friend, says Jeffrey, not me. Yeah, I enjoy spending time with my daughter too. But anyway, Kelcie Douglas is a faculty specialist in the Department of Blindness and Low Vision Studies at Western Michigan University. She holds master's degrees in rehabilitation counseling and vision rehabilitation therapy from WMU and ACVREP certifications in low vision therapy and vision rehabilitation therapy. Kelcie previously worked as a blind rehabilitation specialist with the Department of Veterans Affairs in Arizona and Michigan, and later served as a low vision specialist and clinic coordinator at the WMU Low Vision Clinic. She now teaches in graduate and certificate programs and coordinates the vision rehabilitation therapy programs at WMU. Her professional interests include accessibility. And your opening code is 1980. That's 1980. Take it away.
Thank you. Elyse, would you like the mic?
That will get it.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, Elise's name is not on here, but my goodness, Elyse Connors, we can't forget about her. She's a professor at WMU, and she's doing more bio news week.
Well, I was here to introduce our lead presenters, but Leanne just did such a lovely job. So let me just introduce our program today, which is Mise En Place. I'm looking to Kelcie because Kelcie speaks French.
That is a beautiful pronunciation. That is.
And I just wanted to welcome you here. We'll skip introductions because that's already been so nicely done. But let me bring you to our objectives.
Yeah, the clicker wasn't working for me, so I'm happy to do that. Yeah.
So today we're hoping to understand the importance of food and food preparation and culture. Help understand how Mise En Place is a helpful approach for cooks with visual impairments. I just said it this time without my cheat sheet with pronunciation, so I'm feeling good about that too. And then to be introduced to some new kitchen items that might be especially helpful for the cook with visual impairment.
Thank you. Hi everyone, welcome to post-lunch session number 1. I hope everybody has some full bellies, and if you're feeling too fatigued, I can come and pinch you a little bit. But it's so wonderful to be with all of you. Many of you I know personally, and I'm very grateful for the collegial exchange that we have. I'm really grateful to be here with Jeff and with Elyse, who should have more of a place of importance in this presentation. She's always so modest. The reason that I was kind of pulled into this conversation by Elyse and Jeff really came up with this concept of wanting to introduce to you all Mise En Place, and how we as VRTs and TBIs and other professionals that may end up working with populations within the ADL skills training area. They had said, hey, would you want to join us and be part of this presentation? And for me, I've always been motivated by the idea of food as medicine. And I feel that we as professionals that end up teaching a lot of adaptive cooking and meal preparation, that could be part of the conversation that we have. So what I'm about to jump into, and if you know me or were with me last year in the MAER presentation, I do a lot of questioning of the audience and of the group, because I'm really looking for feedback from all of you that work in the field, and hoping that we can share some ideas and start to build a little bit more community around the work that we do with these concepts. So the first question that I have is related to a quote by Michael Pollan: better to pay the grocer than the doctor. And I'm wondering if anybody's ever heard of that quote before, that concept. So that's really what I'm about to jump into here. I'm about to play a brief clip from David Kessler and his take on processed foods and how they relate to health conditions. I know that many of us have some of this awareness already, but it's important to our conversation. So what and how we eat is a determinant of overall health. I'm really hopeful that this audio isn't like extreme. So let's see here.
No, I don't eat bad for breakfast. I just don't eat. I just have coffee.
Sorry, Anne.
This and that. And my sister never gonna get your protein intake. So here's one of our ways to sort of solve that by
60 minutes overtime.
Oh shoot. I think because I'm in the
About 60
presentation.
minutes. We report
You hear it?
ultra-processed foods, those plastic-wrapped, ready-to-eat items that line our grocery store shelves.
The United States has been exposed to something that our biology was never intended to handle. Energy-dense, highly palatable, rapidly absorbable, ultra-processed foods that have altered our metabolism and have resulted in the greatest increase in chronic disease in our history. Type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes, hypertension, abnormal lipids, fatty liver, heart attacks, stroke, heart failure.
So David just mentioned type 2 diabetes, chronic heart conditions, high cholesterol, a series of food-related, dietary-related health conditions that are impacting the population within the United States. Some of that population are folks that we serve within our field, right? Maybe a little escape here, get back to the PowerPoint. Okay. So, just based on some recent data, the rate of dietary specific health disorders is increasing, as we just heard. Over the past maybe 40 or so years, we've seen trends in increase of obesity, diabetes, food allergies, and celiac disease. I'll read just a couple of these numbers out for us. So diabetes I'll focus on. Back in circa 1990, there was maybe an estimated 170 million cases. Now in 2025-26, we have over 530 million cases. Another obesity, for example, jumped from 1 in 20 adults back in 1975 to 1 in 8 adults in 2024. So thinking about, how do these diet-related health disorders impact the visual system? How are they impacting the whole body system? Because we know that it's never just vision that we work with, right? So thinking about physical, cognitive, emotional states of the clients and students that we work with, how might progressive dietary-related health disorders impact the work that we do as vision rehab therapists? And that was really the reason that I wanted to join this conversation, to have the conversation with all of you in the room, okay? So I personally have an interest in this topic, through my own self-exploration, just learning more about food as medicine and how it impacts the way that I feel. And I think a lot about, the role, again, that we play as vision rehab therapists in working with human beings and their whole body system, working within our scope of practice, of course. I ended up reaching out to some colleagues from the field to see what they are doing related to this idea of food as medicine, food as culture. And I heard back from several folks whom I'm so appreciative of. Very informal survey. But the results I'll read through a little bit later on, but as I was getting these results and this feedback from the colleagues in the field, I thought, what a great opportunity to bring in this concept of interprofessional education, interprofessional collaboration. And if you all have examples of ways that you collaborate with other professionals outside of our VRT scope of practice, whether it's dietetics, nursing, any other medical providers that are trained more specifically in these concepts of diet and the impact that it has on our whole body system. How are these topics discussed and managed across different care professions? I think we always have opportunity to collaborate with other people, other professionals, other providers, and whether or not we have the space or the time or the opportunity to do that is something else altogether. So the folks that we reach out to, all vision rehab therapists, all having some element of the scope of VRT practice. I'll talk about some representation from the Department of Veterans Affairs, both full service rehab center-based model as well as an outpatient model. The Bureau of Services for Blind Persons Training Center, thank you all so much for that feedback. And then as well some nonprofit center-based rehab. So all of the feedback was from center-based programming where individuals come and stay for a period of time, where they're housed within that center and have access to mostly food that's served to them, but are also able to receive training in the topics of meal preparation, adaptive cooking, that type of thing. So we all know that we have to eat, right? Eating is an essential function of a live human person. And yet the importance of food as medicine is not always thought about, accepted, incorporated into the practice. And so I'm just wondering, are we doing enough to explore these concepts with our clients? Some challenges for eating for whole health that were mentioned through this survey. Access to transportation. We know that barriers to transportation limit people in terms of getting to grocery stores, getting the food that maybe they want to eat. We know that there are food deserts in a lot of places if you're in a rural setting, even if you're within sometimes city limits. Access to convenient grocery stores that offer you a variety of nutritious, healthy whole foods can be really challenging for folks. Even though there are now, I think post-COVID era, it's a lot more readily available, the meal delivery services. Being able to order groceries to be delivered to your door, much more commonplace now. But the access to technology, not all of our clients are able to accurately, conveniently navigate with the access tech to be able to do that for themselves, right? They might have to still rely on other people to do that. The knowledge of food and nutrition. So again, kind of related to our scope of practice, making sure that we are operating within that as a VRT, but those opportunities for collaboration. How are we consulting with our nursing staff, our dietetic staff, in order to best inform our clients and then help them come up with a plan? And then also knowledge of how to safely prepare food. How many folks in here who kind of work within this skills training area of adaptive cooking have heard, oh, I can't cook? I see a lot of head nods. I see a hand raise. Yeah, very common, right? When we do assessments with folks and we ask about that area of adaptive cooking and meal preparation, how many people are willing and interested in that, related to their assumption that they don't know how and that they're intimidated by that? So I think just like with access technology, we're all realizing that access tech is the umbrella over every skills training area that we work within. And we're all starting to incorporate those skills, learning what we can to be better VRTs. Can we take that same attitude with adaptive cooking? Helping our clients understand that, hey, this can be accessible for you, this can be fun, and this can be absolutely rewarding because we know that it's related to your whole health, and we know that it's related to, especially, visual impairment. Some of our dietary-related health conditions lead to visual impairment. The idea of microwave chefs. So how many folks, meet with individuals, meet with clients, and that is their primary means for cooking, through the microwave. A great tool, right? Something that, hey, for some people that is what they have to use. But microwaving doesn't always have to only relate to processed food. There are ways of prepping whole, healthy foods through a microwave. But a lot of times people are purchasing the convenient processed foods to then cook for themselves. There's this concept that processed food and is cheaper, which is true from an economic standpoint, but when we think about the hidden cost argument, this statement is actually from the Rockefeller Foundation and other 2025 global food reports. Every $1 spent on processed food, this idea of the hidden cost, society is actually paying approximately $2 in hidden costs related to environmental damage, healthcare for diet-related chronic conditions. So again, what role do we as VRTs play in eliminating barriers to food and meal preparation and making cooking more accessible overall? I'm going to read through a couple of these reports from colleagues in the field now. There is one example that I hope so badly is presented at one of our conferences in the future, but a colleague and friend of mine out of the Department of Veterans Affairs has become really involved with their Whole Health Initiative, which is a model that is developed and facilitated through the Department of Veterans Affairs. But she's really taken this to focus on low vision clients, students, patients that she has. And food and drink is a topic that they cover within one of their sessions. So this happens from April to December. It's sort of a support group model, but they focus on these whole health topics, and they get into being able to then practice some of the skills with, making selections of healthy food, learning how to cook and prepare that food. And I think that this is something that could be modeled, not just within the Department of Veterans Affairs, but in other places as well. Let me get myself oriented here so that I can read off some of this info. How are we doing on time? 1:33? I got about 5 minutes. Okay, so some of the questions so again, I reached out to 5 different blind rehabilitation service agencies, all center-based models. From Arizona, there were 2 agencies from Arizona, which is where I have some strong relationships. That's where I started my career. And then 3 individual organizations from Michigan. There were 4 total responses, and there was a really nice diverse representation of the different models in terms of funding, whether it was federal government, whether it was state-based agency, that type. So I mentioned the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Michigan Bureau of Services for Blind Persons Training Center, and then Leader Dog was actually one of the groups that I connected with. They very recently, I'm not sure if all of you are aware, piloted a very VRT-specific program out of their agency. So some of the questions that were asked: what types of health challenges are your clients experiencing most? From the Department of Veterans Affairs: diabetes, hearing loss, balance issues, memory, cognitive issues, heart problems, age-related comorbidities. From Leader Dog, an uptick in older clients and clients with additional disabilities that have an impact on mobility. From the Training Center, common health conditions, cardiovascular, diabetic, nephritic, and sedentary in nature. And then a sub-question: are you finding that diabetes is on the rise within your client population? From the Department of Veterans Affairs, yes, this has led to more common diagnosis of diabetic retinopathy. Leader Dog, clients with diabetes have always been a large portion of the population we serve and continues to be. Training Center, unclear if diabetes has increased, although it's a very common condition that we see. We know that diabetic retinopathy is the leading cause of blindness in the United States. So we're aware of that. We know that that's major. Sticky fingers. Another question: what health-related criteria must your clients meet in order to be approved to stay at your rehab facility? From the Department of Veterans Affairs, veterans must be medically stable, no emergent or pressing needs, as well as be independent with their ADLs. Leader Dog must be able to independently take medications, have doctor clearance to walk 30 minutes at a time, multiple times a day. The Training Center, participants have to be able to manage medication, take care of personal care needs, toileting, bathing, grooming. So we all know that that criteria does somewhat prevent people from coming into a rehab center, right? And we know that there's other means of giving those folks access through itinerant work and whatnot. But, you know, we take into consideration self-management, self-care. How much are we focusing on that food that is part of their life while they're living at the rehab center? So another question, what options do residents of the rehab center have to manage their meals? Meals are provided in the communal dining room of this is Department of Veterans Affairs. If veterans choose, they may use food delivery services to order food on their own purchase. If they prepare meals in the kitchen, they may eat the leftovers. From Leader Dog, they also have a similar program in that all meals are provided to the clients. So thinking about, you know, within the rehab centers, those meals are being provided for the individuals that stay there. How many of those facilities have the staff guiding the food that's being delivered? So that was another question. Do you have a dietitian or other professional medical provider advising over meal plans? Veterans Affairs, generally a dietitian will meet with a veteran at least once during their stay. This is to get any preference or needs that they need to put on their meal cards. Leader Dog, no, we do not, but I'd love to learn more about how other organizations are incorporating this type of service. Training Center, no, but could be an area of exploration. And then how are you incorporating elements of food as medicine into your instruction as a way to maintain a whole health lifestyle? From the VA, when I'm working with a veteran to come up with a list of foods to prepare in our kitchen training, I generally encourage healthier options. That wasn't applicable for Leader Dog, for the Training Center. In the Adaptive Kitchen Skills class, we devote an entire session on general health and wellness and focus on food groups, daily recommended serving for adult male and female, types of foods to minimize and avoid altogether and consuming in moderation. Also identify overall nutritional benefits to each of the food groups. We also discuss various methods in preparing the food to focus on maximizing nutritional benefits. Shout out to the Training Center. So again, you know, it's starting to be done places. We're seeing that it's happening, but is this a model that's being done everywhere? And also, is that part of our essential scope of practice? Should it be? If it falls outside of our knowledge base, how are we collaborating with other professionals to ensure that we're offering that education? I did want to do just a quick mindfulness exercise with everybody if we have a moment. So if you could all take yourself inwards, whatever that means for you. If you have to close your eyes, if you have to remove a screen from in front of you, go ahead and rest your body in a comfortable position. Take a few deep, calming breaths. And take your mind back to a recent holiday, celebration, or event that involved the sharing of a meal. What role did food play? Was it a central focus of the time spent together? What types of foods were shared? Were there specific foods that held spiritual, cultural, or individual meaning? Recall the vibrations in the room, the vibes. Were people expressing emotions over the food? Did the food or eating rituals help bring people closer? Whether that was physically, emotionally, conversationally? You're welcome to come back. Would you all agree that you have had experiences like I just described? I see a lot of head nods. Yeah, absolutely. We know that food is cultural, food is a universal language, and food is a community builder. So outside of just this concept of food being medicine, we know that it's a way to bring people together and to form connections with one another. We know that shared meals and community offer better mental health. Experiencing rituals that you share with your family and friends is part of our food culture. There's this idea of culinary therapy and commensality, or the act of eating together. There's a whole line of research related to this. Cooking is passing on traditions, beliefs, customs, examples. We know that it's important. We know that it's important for our whole health, We know that it directly impacts our clients, and we know that it's a way to link us as community. So that's why I was here. I just wanted to really have us be thinking about this, because I think that as a culture we've really moved away from mostly agrarian practices, but you know, this idea of eating for whole health and eating whole healthy foods. And I'd love to see a shift in that mindset, and I'd love to see us as VRTs, other professionals who work with clients in the adaptive cooking and meal preparation, starting to explore these concepts further. So I guess I'm just going to leave you with a question, and then Jeff, I'll turn it over to you, okay? I want you to go away from this thinking, how do we as VRTs play a part in this whole health revolution? And if you have any ideas or want to collab with me, I'm a collaborator. I'm one of those dreamers. Elyse is there to rein me in a little bit. But I would love to work with all of you further on this concept. And now, I'd love to introduce or turn it over to Mr. Jeffery Crouch, a dual OMA and VRT major at Western Michigan University. Jeff, you want the microphone?
Oh no, I can just speak loud.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. One quick question before we begin. It's kind of like a pop quiz. We're back in class. I would like somebody who may know the answer to just shout out and fill in the blank. Organized and blank approaches. What is big in the VRT field? We are big on organized and blank approaches to learning. Boom, you got it. Absolutely.
Did everybody hear that?
Systematic. Organized and systematic approaches. It's what we focus on. Mise En Place is exactly that. An organized and systematic approach to food preparation before we begin cooking. Mise en place is the French term meaning everything in its place. Moving on to our next slide here, a brief history. Auguste Escoffier was the individual who formalized the practice of mise en place. Now the French-American way of pronouncing it would be Auguste Escoffier, and then the traditional is Auguste Escoffier. Escoffier was born in the early 1800s and served in the military through the French military system. During his time there, he obviously learned structured methods and systematic approaches to dealing within the military and rules. After he left the military, he wanted to go into the food service industry. And when he went in, he discovered that kitchens during that time were filled with chaos, disorganized, loud, everyone running around, and he said there has to be a better way. So using his military background, he created structured systems and rules to operate kitchens, which is where, has anyone ever seen Master Chef?
Yes.
So the brigade system that's used in professional kitchens was part of this system, and within that system is where we got this method for food preparation. Now, not everyone agreed with what he was doing. Many people were opposed to a formalized system. They said, we got it, it's working great. We don't need a formalized system. But Escoffier persisted and made systematic changes within the industry to get us to where we are today. And now it is one of our foundational principles of cooking that's taught to all professional chefs in culinary school. Moving on to our next slide. The importance for clients. Now, we deal with a lot of adaptive kitchen skills. And how do we get the buy-in of our client? That's kind of something we're always trying to think about. How do we get our client to buy into what we are trying to train them? The great thing is that Mise En Place is not something that's special and adapted specifically for blind. It's used every day in kitchens all over the world. So for those folks who have children who are learning to cook, it's kind of a neat idea to, hey, professional chefs do this. You're being like a professional chef. How it benefits our clients. It keeps them organized. They know where all materials are. It's efficient. They can move from one step to the next step of the cooking process easily. And those two steps promote safety, which is something that's huge for people who are blind or have low vision. How do we cook and ensure that we're being safe? And all these things come together to build confidence in our client. You may have someone who starts out who is using a microwave to cook. And by the end of your time working with them and then going out and connecting with other blind and low vision individuals, they build that confidence, and next thing you know, they're making all sorts of elaborate dishes for their families and for gatherings. And so these are all really important things to teach, and this is the first foundational step. Speaking of steps, as we move on to our next slide, steps to Mise En Place. The first thing that we must do is understand the recipe. We don't just start throwing ingredients around and hoping and praying. We look at recipes. For people who've been cooking a long time, they can look at a recipe and adapt it. But for those starting out, it's always important to study the recipe. What cooking preparations are required? What ingredients? What order are those ingredients going to go in? Kind of looking at that blueprint. So we're identifying all required ingredients and equipment, kind of making that plan. In step 2, we're preparing those ingredients. So we're gathering them and we're prepping them. Washing, peeling, chopping. In step 3, we're setting up our equipment. So making sure that our tools and equipment are clean and accessible. Nothing like starting out and going, where's my juicer? Well, with this system, before you even turn on the stove, you know where everything is. In step 4, we're organizing our ingredients. So we're going to take our organized, prepped ingredients, and we're going to order them in the use that they will follow in the recipe to simplify the cooking process. So we may start out with a little bit of garlic and onion, sauteing it, and then moving on from there. In step 5, we want to label our containers. If you're using multiple containers and ingredients, if you have a lot of different ingredients, you want to make sure that they're labeled. Now for most people, you just write on the container. The ways that we can adapt that is using tools like the pen friend for labeling. You could use Braille. You could use large print. Many different ways to label our containers, especially if you don't use everything all at once. You can put it in the fridge and now you know what it is, where it is, and I'd even recommend labeling it with possibly when you think it's going to expire, so that way you can keep track of it. In step 6, we're going to ensure that our main area, is clean. Keeping a clean and organized area is important, so that way you know where everything is. You're not getting mixed up. You don't have things like whatever, maybe sitting on your kitchen counter. You're keeping those things clear, so that way as you begin the cooking process and working with heat, you're making sure you're not going to knock anything off onto the stove, or basically getting into trouble and not knowing where things are. So it's keeping that workstation clear of unnecessary items, so only the essential things that you're working with. In step 7 comes the fun part. We begin cooking. So we follow that recipe, adding ingredients in the order in which they appear in the recipe, and just slowly moving through that process. I can tell you, the times that I've cooked, I tend to be very disorganized. And next thing you know, I find timers are going off and I'm running around. This simplifies all of that. As we move on to our next slide here, what is the VRT's role in all of this? Well, we want to make sure that we're teaching our clients safe, efficient, organized methods to food preparation. And all of this should sound familiar. Does kind of this basic idea sound familiar to everyone? Because our Foundations of VRT textbook outlines this. It talks about all these things that I've just mentioned. Although it frames it as an adaptive technique, but really it's not. It's just something every good home cook, professional chef use every single day. And we've been practicing this. When we've taken classes at Western, we got firsthand knowledge and experience of what this is like for our clients. So, one thing I would like everyone to take away from this is getting the buy-in of the client and framing it as this is something that is normal. Everyone does this. This isn't unique. This isn't something just for blind and low vision people. Everyone either does do this to some extent or does it all the way. So thank you very much, and I will now pass it on to Elyse for our last section.
Nice job, Jack.
Thank you, Jack. We were doing Mise En Place before it was trending.
Yeah.
So on the front table here, I have a collection of gadgets. Of course, who doesn't love a good gadget? But also we want to be hearing from you if you're finding kitchen items that might be potentially helpful for yourself or for your clients. And Kelcie, you can go to the next slide. I have them somewhat organized by grouping. So this first group, and I'll pass them around as well. But this first grouping is items for measuring. And these are dual-sided measuring spoons, but they are magnetized so they stay together. They're different colors, but the print is kind of large print, but I don't know if it will be large enough, of course, for everybody. I'll start with the back.
It's not large enough for me.
Some of these items came, or the ideas for these items have come, from different listservs I'm in, kind of a lot of crowdsourcing, which is often where we get our best tips. So another one is, I'm going to show it. I'm a little bit biased. I'm not sure why anybody would need this, but I got lots of people saying these were a really good gadget. So I might need somebody to supply the reason why this could be so helpful. But these are collapsible silicone measuring cups. Okay.
They take up less space.
All right, great. And then it has little measuring spoons too that are on the flatter side. So they are, oh, you have that one. Maybe you're where I got the tip. These measuring spoons are maybe a half an inch deep. So they lie kind of flat. And then the collapsible cups, they come as a set. are brightly colored, so different colors for different sizes. Okay. Should I start these in different ways? That way people don't have to wait so
I
long.
can help Elyse.
to get something.
I will say those are also awesome to take with you. They're easier to pack. So if you're going to stay at like an Airbnb, they may not have something that's accessible for you, and you can bring those along for yourself, and you always have something with you.
Space saving, travel.
And these other ones are more traditional measuring spoons and cups, but they're just a good example of larger
I love a collapsible thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who do you write?
Do you want me to start off with something on the other one?
Sure, yeah. I'm going to switch here is an item called a pasta pasta. Anybody use this? So it's a way to microwave pasta. What is it called? Pasta pasta. And there's links in the PowerPoint, so you can go directly. People swear by this.
The Italian in me just died.
I know. It's not for the authentic cook, but for some client it's perfect. Great, thank you.
Oh, you want me to take the box with you?
Either way.
Okay.
I didn't know if somebody wanted to read more about it.
You want me to take those shots?
Oh yeah, I was just walking me down to this.
Yeah, I'm in my chair.
I've got a few items under organization and marking. One is pinch bowls. Everyone know what a pinch bowl is? I think if you watch cooking shows, this is more intuitive for you. This was new language for me. But I guess they kind of go with this idea of mise en place, where you have all of your items prepared, ready to go. And so these are just nested bowls. They're different colors, but each bowl itself is also a measurement. So you can use it as a measuring device as well as kind of a storage, and in terms of low print or larger for low vision, they would work well as pinch bowls. And these others are from Anchor Hocking. They're just 1 cup measuring bowls with lids, so good for storage. But the nice thing about them is on the inside is ridges. So you can do a 1/4 a cup, a 1/2 a cup, 3/4 of a cup, and a full cup, all within your storage container as well.
That's awesome.
So, this is Anchor Hocking.
What is it?
Anchor Hocking. These are they're kind of small. They're like Pyrex leftover containers, only fancier because they are measuring cups as well.
Oh, cool.
So and there's 2 of them. Oh, actually, I'll start one at this far end.
Yeah, yep. You can start one on there. I'll bring this one down here.
And I do have, let's see, well, I have prices
Cutting
written
board?
here, but let's start this back here.
Those? Are they sealed?
This is an item next, that's a bowl stabilizer, and actually Jeff found this one. Actually, he found a really nice one, but it was like $60. This is like a $12 version, probably not as nice as the $60 version, but more affordable. And it does a couple things. Let's see, it's got a diameter of about, maybe 8 inches, 7, 8 inches. And you can place it on the table, or kitchen counter, you put your bowl in it. It's got ridges, it's like a ring. It's got ridges, so it keeps the bowl in place while you're manipulating food. But you could also put it inside a pan of boiling water to make like a double, or a pot of boiling water to make a double
Broiler.
boil.
Double broiler.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm looking to my cooking expert here, Frank.
The one that told Jeff about that gadget.
Pardon? It's called a prep bowl stand. The kind of more expensive one was called a bowl stabilizer, and you could kind of use it in different orientations, but kind of holding a bowl in place in a large variety of environments.
And Elyse, is it true that everything is in our PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yeah, so the links to all these products are in the PowerPoint if you all want to go back to it later. It should be in the shared folder. That's where I pulled this from. So, yeah.
Yeah, there's all direct links to Amazon.
And I think the biggest difference between that one and the more expensive one was the suction cups. But you could adapt the cheaper one yourself by buying suction cups and gluing it to the bottom of that.
Yeah.
Save yourself a lot of money.
It looked like the fancier one, the fancier bowl stabilizer, $60 one. You could use it, you could reverse it 180 degrees. Maybe it fits more bowls.
That's possible.
And it
yeah.
seemed a little, from the picture, a little more flexible. So maybe those would be advantages, like fitting that into your pot or whatever. So it's just that who wants $60 for a bowl stabilizer? But maybe somebody does. Somebody cooks a lot. It might make a difference. So I'm sure you've all seen the pots.
Folks, please lower your voices. It's really hard to hear the speaker. Thank you.
Sure. You've probably seen those pots that come with lids for boiling water, for like pasta, where you put the lid on the pot, you boil your water, your spaghetti, then you turn the pot lid maybe 180 degrees and it can act as a strainer. So, say that again?
Locking lid pots.
Locking lid pots. Everyone familiar with those?
Also good for draining grease if you're running.
Everyone hear that? Also good for draining grease if you're cooking up hamburger. This is more of a catch-all, but it is a strainer that will fit onto the edge of your pot. So it has clips to get onto the edge of your pot. You can tip your pot and it'll hold back the spaghetti or the item that you're cooking, and it has a little spout to drain the water. So, no, I do have a rattler, but I don't know that I put it in there. So this is called Kitchen Gizmo Snap and Strain Clip-On Strainer for pots. $11.40.
Do they have different sizes of those?
No, just that one size. Maybe other brands?
Maybe.
So.
Is it silicone?
Yeah.
In terms of cutting, we have finger pots, so which I had never seen before, but Amanda's nodding. So these look like little mini finger mittens. So they go over your fingers and are cut resistant. So instead of the glove, which could be bulkier, these were inexpensive. Where do they come from?
That's a game changer.
Where do they come from?
Amazon, or please. They are 24 for $6. I think they are one size fits all or fits most. And then the next items are all one of those sort of their cutting boards and mandolin slicers. So maybe we'll have, Kelcie, would you mind going around with at least one of these?
Absolutely.
I worry about safety here. So these are one-handed cutting boards. And so there's a typical one that we use in blind rehab. It's white, it's square, and it comes in a box, and it's got 3 nails coming up from the bottom to hold your food. And every time I unpackage one of those, of course, there's nothing covering those nails. So it's just, my stomach is a little queasy as I open those. These 2 cutting boards are similar in that they're designed for people who are using one side of their body or one arm. And they, again, have the spikes that come up that would hold the food material, but they come with a wooden cover for them. So it's safer in that sense. Kelcie's got one that's she's going around with that has a place for a slicer that is mounted onto the board. It's removable, it's plastic, and it's at a slant. So you're able to kind of do your grading or your slicing right on the cutting board against the slanted grates. And it's fancier
that looks
than
like a
that.
mandolin I want.
It looks like one you want.
Yes.
It's about $35. So it's just another alternative. And then Jeff, I'm going to send you around this other one-handed cutting board. You want to start with the right in the back. This one's a little bit simpler, but also for the same population. It has, again, the spikes or those nails, but it comes with a woody cover so that when you're storing it, it's more protective. This one also has rubber bands that would also help keep food stable when you're getting ready to cut. So both of these are designed for use with one hand, but feel a little bit safer, and they just have more ways to make it variable, to use it in different ways, whether it's the way you're using the rubber bands, whether you're using the grater section or taking that apart. They just seemed like they were more versatile. Jeff. And then I have one more.
Hello.
Slide it on. And this is called the Dash Safe Slice Mandolin Compact Foldable Food Slicer.
That's what I wanted to see.
So it has a nice design. It's got a removable bowl underneath that will catch whatever you're grating. It feels a little bit safer in the sense that it has a spout, and you put your food down the spout, and like most of these slicers, mandolin cutters, it has a plunger to push the food down in, and gravity is working for you as well. And then on the top is a plunger where you're pushing up and down, and that is sliding the grate up and down underneath the food. So it feels safer than a lot of those mandolin slicers that we have. What products do you know, or are you finding are helpful, or are just plain fun? Have you used this one, or something similar?
Sometimes I just like to try different things at different times to see what works.
Yeah.
So they definitely help for cutting.
Yeah, less intimidating and faster.
It's 2:10. Okay.
Okay.
I just know she said, I'm not great at keeping, so I was like... No problem.
No, it's all one together, and it's about $30 or $35. Amanda.
I can share that silken edge guards for arms that they really helpful for our students, so that they're not so nervous about putting items into the oven.
And are those silicone covers, do they have snaps, or do they just stay down? Yeah.
Yeah, just slide in and they're on.
Yeah, and it's just the front edge of the rack. Yeah, kind of the old school one.
And also, we found that there's a group called the Blind Kitchen, and they provide multiple boxes of different kinds of sets that have been really nice, loaded with all sorts of things. Your elk gloves, your cutting gloves.
So you would buy a whole kit from the blind
So
kitchen?
you might have like a stove top, or for in the oven, or for cutting, and there's multiple different boxes.
They're already integrated with focus on them.
Yeah.
It comes with a funnel and a little cup, so you can pour the liquid in and pour it back.
Oh, that's nice.
So it's a really
And that's called the blind kitchen.
blind kitchen.
Shout out
She
to
has videos too that kind of talk about each of the different sets.
All right, I think our
If you're on TikTok, shout out to the Blind
you
Kitchen.
want to talk about that you're finding are helpful? Yeah, Robert?
I was just going to add the double-sided spatula is really cool.
Double-sided spatula?
Yeah, that's really awesome.
I want to see that mandarin.
Which one? The first,
Both of them. I want to get my hot little hands on both of them.
get them back up here.
I didn't get to see any of the gadgets that everybody saw me recording, so I was avoided like the plague.
Oh, well, here. Let me show you some stuff.
I can come up to the table after the fact.
Yeah, silicone double-sided spatula. This is Robert, folks. Just to add to the great list of products here, but if anyone's interested in teaching adaptive or accessible kitchen techniques, the silicone double-sided spatula is also a great product. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, but it's great for teaching on cooking on top of the stove, whether you're using a flat top or even if you're using like a George Foreman grill. I know folks who have blindness or low vision, if they have hesitation with getting to a hot surface, first off, any of us that know, in the real world things get hot. So let's make sure that we're working with our clients to know that, talking them through the anxiety of getting towards the, like we're talking about Mise En Place, talking them through that and making sure that preparation is key. But then also that specific instrument, that piece of I don't know what you want to call it. That tool is really good at grabbing anything that's on that hot surface and being able to successfully flip it or turn it over, really well, with some distance and stuff. So just a tip.
Thank you. Yes. Come in with the next one.
This will be our last one. Thank you.
I was just going to say I was working in the pilot program at Leader Dog, the VRT program, and the strangely surprised hit of the week was those plastic holders for cartons. So like a half-gallon carton, whether it's juice or milk or whatever, the plastic ones, and they have hard plastic handles. And I don't know why, but that was like the biggest hit with all the clients. That's what they wanted to take home because it made it so much easier to manage.
That's a shout out to our Canadian neighbors because they have milk in bags, and so the containers for that, and similar with our milk cartons or our orange juice.
All right, so we need to wrap up. I'd like to thank Kelcie and Jeffrey and this has been a very informative VRT session, which all of us VRTs greatly appreciate. So thank you. So your closing code